few months, a lot of people have been asking us about small group trips. How do you lead your own retreat, your own small group trip? So we're very excited about this topic. And if I can get my technology right. Okay, great. So really quickly for the people that don't know us, yeah, I see a couple new names here. Who we are and what we do, we consider ourselves being keepers of tradition and culture in travel. That's part of our mission. And we are we call it sensorial travel, DMC, where everything we do is about engaging all of your senses to truly be present in the experience that you're having. We're a multicultural, multilingual team, as you could just witness. He is also native French. And of course, we're travel designers. So we're not just a booking machine, right? We're not just order takers, but we actually, based on the client vision and on your vision, we design the journey.
And we're human.
Yes, we're human, of course. That's why we're not too worried about AI. Our mission is preserving culture and tradition through meaningful, sustainable, exceptional travel. So this really captures both the traveler and the travel too, because it's really important for us to have a really positive impact on the destinations and the communities visited. How we work, I mean, this is pretty obvious, but we put a huge amount of emphasis and effort into research and development because every single thing that you'll see on an itinerary, whether it's an accommodation, a driver, or an experience, has been personally vetted by our team. So we do a lot of travel, as all of you do. We also provide turnkey itineraries in both Travefy and Access. If you use Access, be patient with us. We're probably on the fourth, fifth itinerary. So it's been a learning curve, but always open to knowing how you work so that we can implement things to make your life easier. And we, of course, provide local management. What we'll talk about today is more about trip facilitation, but local manager for normal trips is somebody, same person, no hotline, same person that is available to your clients and to you 24/7 during the trip. So let's get right into this. How do you share your favorite destinations with your communities of travel with your own signature retreat? Super excited. We've done quite a few of them, and we're really glad that you're giving us the opportunity to share all this with you. First of all, we get asked what is the difference between a retreat and a small group trip? And today we're kind of going to use those terms a little bit interchangeably. But at the retreat, when you hear about a retreat, right, you're usually thinking only going to one location, right? You usually think of a specific focus, whether it be yoga, wellness, fashion, style retreat. And it's around a very specific intention or a transformation. And there's usually workshops integrated that reflect that intention versus a small group trips. And there's a lot of advisors that have clients that they want to maybe explore the region of Sicily or Puglia, but they don't necessarily want to do yoga. They don't necessarily want a specific focus. So this is a little more, I don't like the word general, but it's a more variety of a mix of experiences. And usually you can have more than one home basis. We'll talk later that we usually don't recommend more than two. Of course, it all depends on the length of the trip. And of course, a small group trip tends to be slightly, even though it's still slow travel, slightly faster paced than a retreat. And of course, it's designed to leave people feeling inspired by place and lifestyle. So those are usually the culture, the food, of course, the people play a huge role in those type of trips. Tracy, I haven't received any questions if you put on the Q&A, so maybe just chime in a second to let me know if that's working.
I did put it on. The only thing I have access to right now is chat. I don't see
perfect.
Q&A.
The chat is perfectly fine.
I did put something on that.
Okay, perfect. There is a Q&A. Perfect. Yay.
Oh, here we go. Yep.
Thank you
Sorry,
for
guys.
having us
Thanks, Ashley and Amy.
Technology. Great. So if you have any questions, like I said, at any point, please put it in there and we will get an answer. So Jonathan, since you are one of our most experienced and seasoned small group trip facilitators, have done quite a few, why don't you tell us more about what those journeys are all about?
Yeah, so guys, we try to bring the LBR value in those trip. So it's like have a trip, but with someone who help you to really enhance the experience. We really try to keep this group small because we think it's important to have the time not only to connect with the local culture, but with the other people, because you start with other people you don't know, and at the end of the trip you are friends, but you need to have the time to connect with them. That means we can be a lot. So we try to usually not be more than 10. Also, we really think and we really trust the fact less is more. So for us, it's very important to have the time, because when you arrive in a destination, you really need the time to discover the place, the area, and to really immerse yourself in the culture. This is part of the sensorial travel. That means you are visiting less place, but you are you are like absorbing more
Right.
about the
You're
place.
experiencing more. Exactly. Connection over
Yes.
checklist.
Yes. And like or not, we really try to preserve the culture and the tradition of the place. That's mean we work only with local people. So all the experience, the partner are very authentic. It's people who they really care about the land. That's also mean all the accommodation are small. They are not big. Most of the time, it's always exclusive accommodation and experience. So that means it's a very luxury experience, because everything you have, it's only for you. The other thing, and I mean, it's not because I'm one of these, but the facilitator, it's a huge value for this kind of trip, because it's really helped to connect you and go deeper with this connection and help you to have this bridge between the travelers and the local people, because most of the time the facilitator can help to enhance this connection, because in this kind of trip most of the time some partner maybe they don't speak English, so the facilitator can really help to connect the
Right,
two.
you can get access, right? You can get access to experiences and to locals that don't necessarily, do this for a living. They make cheese for a living, they make wine for a living, right? So they may not be as accustomed to bigger, tourism opportunities, but the facilitator really helps bring the stories of those people into the trip by providing that logistical and cultural support, and of course always being the translator, right? Because a lot of the times we go in more off the beaten path destinations, and so having that person allows the travelers and also the travel advisor, which in this case would be co-facilitating, to really experience the trip. So we'll talk more about this later, but those are just some of the things that make this type of travel really unique and immersive.
Yeah, and also all the trip, if you decide to work with us, it's based on your idea. So we try based on your idea to build something or reflect this value and reflect your idea. So we work closely together, and after also for all the stuff, but you will see during the process after, we can think about all the back end.
Right. And I do want to add one more thing. I know you see here usually no more than 10, but I know a couple of you know that we've done a couple of trips that may be like 20 people. Those are very different. You won't see us talking about those here. For example, we're doing one with a company called Opportunity Travel, which is coming off season and it's going off the beaten path. They're staying in the small lake town of Bracciano, which is outside of Rome. And they have the very specific focus of bringing travelers who may be considering moving to Italy. So we're doing a trip, we're visiting properties, we're bringing in experts. So bigger trips, I'm not saying they cannot be done, but usually, for this type of retreat, small group trip, 10 or less, 8 to 10 is really ideal to maintain that feel. But if you have a specific client or focus that are like, you know what, they have a bigger audience, it can be done as long as we're mindful about where we're going and when we're going there.
And now let's talk about the kind of travelers could be perfect for this kind of trip. Most of the time, it's almost everyone, because it's for people who they want authenticity. They want to be in a vacation and don't think about nothing. Because the good thing is during the week they really don't have to think about anything, because we are here to provide anything. We are here for everything. So most of the time there are also people, they are curious, they are very open mind, they ask a lot of questions. I mean, they are very flexible, they are here for the food. I mean, you are in Italy, so food, it's the one of the most important thing, but also the culture. There are people who they want to see the real Italy, not only what the picture show you.
Right. And not only that, but I've met a few people that it was their first time. Most of our, small group trip travelers, they've already been to Italy, they've done Rome. But then I've met people where like their first time was on a retreat. And that place ended up being their favorite place, the place that really connected to the Italy that then they came back to. So it can also work backwards. If you do have a client who's never been and they don't have FOMO about just staying in one region, right, for longer, because of course we always plan extensions, can plan extensions, then it could really be a great way to make them fall in love with the real authentic Italy and kind of bypass the more tourist traps that then maybe later they can still go and take off the list but through a different lens because they would have already experienced the culture and what the real country really
Just
has to offer.
one last thing, we write about couple and solo traveler because the facilitator he is also here or she is also here to make sure there is no like dead moments for anyone.
Dress I've ever seen in my life, and I'm about to take this in a direction that you wouldn't expect. When clothing was originally invented, like the caveman flap, and I actually did have to Google caveman.
Who's talking?
What? Is it just...
Okay, I'm not sure. Let's keep going.
Okay, so that's help really to have, I mean, if you have solo traveler, they can be in a group with couples because the facilitator is also here to make sure he or she will not be alone or they will not be alone.
Right. And it all depends, right? If you're doing all women retreat, then chances are you're going to have more solo travelers, more maybe friends. But usually some of the small group trips we've done, we find that we always have a few couples and then there's always a couple solo travelers. And in fact, it's the solo travelers usually that tend to come back because, they may have less commitments, less things going on. But
yeah, and like I said before about this trip, it's very about the people. The people, our partner, they are all amazing. They are all people who they care about what they do. They really try to preserve what is the true Italy and the best side of Italy. So the main focus on group trip it's almost about them because they are really the voice of what the people are looking for.
Yep. Great. So now that we have kind of a general overview of who our clients are, and like I said, you all may have different clientele, and this is not, an all or nothing, but this at least gives kind of an overall vision of what usually happens in some of the trips. Let's really talk about our process. How do we go from first conversation, from dream, right, to actual execution of a beautiful trip? So these are some of the steps that you will also find on our website, and we're going to go through each of them quickly, but we have a very quick design your journeys form. Of course, I always welcome an email saying, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think the budget should be? Could we make this happen? But then once we really want to move forward with it, it's a very quick form that I'll show you that just gets into our system and allows us to kickstart the process. And then we do the vision call. And this is really where the magic happens. Just like you have, a call with your clients when they're planning a trip, we do the same. And like Jonathan said, we co-design, right? Unless you come to us and you say, you know what, I want to go to Sardinia. I know nothing about it. You do it. Here's what we want to get out of it. It's really a two-way conversation where we really co-design that itinerary. And then, of course, there's usually a little bit of back and forth with the itinerary design and the review. And then we're going to talk about two different ways that we can go about registration, landing pages, promoting it with our channels too, or just if it's something that you want to keep exclusive to your trips, so to your audience. Again, this is a very quick form just to show you it lives on our website. And of course, we'll also send you the link when we send you the recording of this webinar. So this is just very quick to get an overall idea of what it is that you have in mind. And then during the vision call, again, this is where the magic happens. We'll discuss the purpose. A lot of the times people may have an idea, but they don't necessarily they can't pinpoint exactly what they want. So I always ask the question, what do you want the travelers to feel like during and at the end of the trip? And actually something that almost always happens on these trips is most travelers get to do something for the first time. Most travelers get out of their comfort zone, whether it may be an adventure that they didn't think they were going to be able to do, or whether you offer something optional, right? Sometimes if we do like a wine, trip in Sicily, we may offer optional yoga among the vineyards, right? That's something that if people see optional, they don't feel like, okay, I have to do it. It's a yoga trip. It's not. But then they may end up doing something for the first time that they can bring back home and really keep with them. So again, be ready to answer some of the questions, like what do we want the focus to be? Obviously, dates, number of participants, 3 of rooms, couples. I don't know why that 3 is there. That must have been a typo on my part. Home bases, right? This is something we'll talk a little bit more later, but it's very important to understand that those type of trips work best for their purpose when they're either capped into one location, one home base, or perhaps 2. There's some exceptions to that, but usually that's the sweet spot. And then, by the end of the call, just like when you have calls with your clients, we know exactly what itinerary we're going to design. And sometimes, when feasible, we may also show you a couple of options that brings us to the next point. So if you like Travefy or Access, we can be flexible with that. We usually say that we'll get you an itinerary within 7 business days from our call. Sometimes it's less. Usually it's never longer, unless we're planning a trip for 2027 during a week that we're very busy. We may ask, hey, can we take maybe 10 days? But usually you have it pretty quickly. And like I said, if we have the time, we love options. We want to show you multiple options for the accommodations. Maybe there's 2 that fit within that vision, right? And multiple experiences. Now, of course, at this stage, this is all in the proposal, nothing is booked. So it's very important to understand, and this is a different conversation on pricing, that everything is subject to change. Usually we plan those trips, a year in advance, so we have plenty of time to make the decisions the way we want them. And then after that, of course, you go through a review. Usually if we need to hop on another call to kind of review and make some additional edits, we do that. One very important thing is that the itinerary is usually for you. This is not something that we usually encourage sharing with clients if we're going to go the landing page route, which we'll talk in a second, because, if we budgeted for 10 people and we only have 8, of course, we're not going to cancel the trip, even if we have 6 or 7. But what we may do is adjust a couple of experience, right? So just a few things. So we recommend just sharing with the clients a landing page with all the details of what's included, where they're staying, what's not included, but perhaps the day-to-day itinerary, which is not going to have the start time of each experience a year before. That's something that can be reserved when we actually send the welcome emails. Here's the final itinerary, and so forth. And we're always happy to make a couple of revisions before launch. Again, depending on how much time we have to plan, this may vary. So here's where there's 2 different ways in which we can collaborate. A lot of the people that we partner with, the advisors and retreat leaders, they want us to co-market the trip. So we create a landing page on our website. They create a landing page on their website. We also make a registration page, which we usually prefer, because even if you want to keep this private and not have it on our website, we can still make a non-branded registration page that you can put on your website. But when people register, we collect payment, we collect client details. And so a lot of people like to do it this way. And then there's some people that are like, you know what? I just want the itinerary, nothing else. I'm going to do all of my marketing, all of my landing pages, all of my registrations. I'll just ask you to send me an invoice when people have registered. So we are very flexible. It all depends on the kind of support that you like. And of course, if you decide to have our support, we share photos, videos, email campaign templates. We co-collaborate on social media posts, and we also co-host a webinar. We've already hosted a couple, for example, for a wellness retreat that we're doing and for a fashion and style retreat as well. So we would co-host that with you so that we can be there to support if there's any kind of more destination on the ground related questions, and you can really be there to share your passion with the clients. If you have any questions, please bring them in. And so after that, depending on which options you've chosen, right, we put together a launch and promotion calendar, and we say the fun and stress begins, right? Yes, it's fun, but of course it's stressful when you have to fill a trip. Unless, some people they already have their group form before we even design the itinerary. So obviously that's fantastic. But once we launch the trip, we have the landing pages, we share social media, an email campaign calendar. Of course, by the time we launch the trip, even though we don't have to share every single experience with the client on the itinerary, we love to be transparent. We don't like to say 3 nights in agriturismo in Tuscany. No, we like to tell clients which agriturismo, right? Which hotel. So by that point, we really want to get accommodations booked. And that's where it can get a little bit tricky because if we're planning 18 months to a year in advance, depending on destination and season too, that's very important. We can probably hold our partner accommodations for a few months without a deposit being needed. But let's say we're planning something, during a busy season, maybe we only have 6 months to 8 months of lead time. They're going to want to deposit pretty quickly. So that's something that we can discuss. But of course, usually that deposit is on the onus of the travel advisor or retreat leader. And then as registrations and deposits start trickling in, we refund that immediately. Again, we haven't had to do it because usually we have plenty of time to just hold the accommodations, start getting deposits that then will pay for whichever deposits are due to the accommodations, but just something to keep in mind. And yeah, we book experiences and finalize details only when we reach the viable number of participants. And that's why we recommend not sharing the full itinerary until the trip becomes viable. Only when we have reached an amount of participants that we feel, even if it's not the minimum amount, but we feel like, okay, we're going to make this happen, right? We've never canceled the trip. We've lost money on trips and we don't want to do that. Like, we don't want you to do that. But we've never canceled the trip because, like I said, we always find some ways, even if it's first, it's just to break even, to make it happen for everyone, because the experiences that happen with those travelers are truly transformational. But when we have, a good amount of participants that we feel comfortable, then we send a welcome email. Of course, when the clients register, depending on if it's registered on our side, like if you wanted our promotion and we've been able to bring a couple people, or if it's been on your side, you've already been in contact with the client. But then the official welcome email with flight details, traveler information collection, like dietary restrictions, passports, and all of that. It may not be sent as soon as they register, right? We let them know, thank you for registering, but then we may send that as soon as we have a small group form that will make the trip viable. This was just, by the way, because I don't want to get confused, this is just a sample of email campaigns, and we also know how to do retargeting called? When somebody may click, when you may send out a newsletter, this is his realm. I know nothing of what I'm talking about. So forgive me, but if we send an email and somebody clicks on it,
so what's happened when we do the marketing stuff, it's like we send this email and people who show interest, they start to be retargeting. So that means they receive like 1 or 2 emails to say, hey, we see you show interest about the trip. So we try to really keep the lead alive, yes,
Yeah.
and to try to close the deal.
Yeah, and it's usually something very personable. Nothing will ever go out on social media without your approval. We always send you a draft when we share the calendar, so that you can approve everything. If you're like, I love making content, like Amy, please you send us the content and we'll be happy to reshare it. So everything is super flexible and customizable.
Yeah, I mean, when we start this process, we are both in the same side, so we work together.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so let's say we have a group formed, everything has gone well. Then we can do a pre-alignment call, and we can do that just with you, the advisor trip leader, or we can also, if you feel appropriate, we can also invite the clients to join the call just to have a little kickoff moment, introduce each other. And some people find it really helpful, but again, that's something that it's definitely up to you. But the pre-trip alignment call with you, it's again to reiterate logistics, responsibilities, because the whole point of this is that you are there to really enjoy what you love, to enjoy your clients, and we are there to handle all the logistics. But you're the star that's going to shine. But we just allow you to really enjoy it and relax in between moments without having to go from a lunch to calling the driver and to making sure everybody's on time. So that's a huge reason why we offer co-facilitation. We have not yet done a trip where we have planned it without co-facilitating it, unless it's a private, group, and that's a whole different story. And then, of course, 24 hours before departure, just like with the normal trips, we create, and sometimes we do it even a little before 24 hours, we create a WhatsApp group where everybody's in it. By then, everything has been ironed out. We usually always encourage the trip leader to arrive a day early, of course, depending on the destination, and get everything, set up at the accommodation. And what Jonathan said about having exclusive use of the accommodations, sometimes you get asked, oh, but I saw a trip on so-and-so for $5.99, and it's like they're staying at these giant hotels, going around on tour buses. All those tours, yes, you can find online for fairly cheap. That's not what we're all
Yeah,
about.
and something else, like I just want to say, in the accommodation we choose and the client will stay, there will be a person and not a number. That's mean they will meet the people working most of the time, also the owner. They will be they will have the opportunity. I mean, the accommodation, it's also part of the experience. It's not only a place where the people go and sleep. It's very, I mean, all the trip, it's very an experience, everything. And also the accommodation.
Yeah, we say the accommodation is the destination exactly for that reason, especially on those type of trips where you do have a chance to relax, to reconnect, and just really enjoy the place you're in. And then, that's basically it. I know it sounds very simple.
That's the best
You
part
go
for
and
me.
you enjoy the journey. Again, you're the trip leader, and you'll get to enjoy. There's a typo there, and enjoy
Enjoy. That's the new word, guys.
without the operational lifting. The first yoga retreats that we did with the yoga teachers, they told us that they'd done those trips before by themselves, and it was just exhausting for them. And especially for something like that, where you want to pour from a full cup, right? Like, how could you possibly do that if you're just exhausted because you're going from activity to laptop to answering the phone to coordinating everything? So I think that it's huge to just have you truly enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? Of the places that you love without having to worry about the operation side of it. So a couple of important points, and then we have a long list of, not long, I don't want to scare you, but some FAQs that I thought I would share, and then hopefully you guys will have more questions. But what are the planning time frames? Again, usually 8 months to 14 months prior to trip. I gotta have a talk with my marketing team here. But yes, usually 8 months to 14 months prior to the trip. If you want to do more than that, so be it. Again, it's great. It just depends on destinations, right? So better 14 months if we're going to destinations and season that are a little bit more popular. It can be done in 6 to 8 months, especially if you already have a couple people in mind that you've been talking about it, they want to join. So accommodation deposit, I guess I put it here, but
You
this is
forgot to say something important. We really try to do this group off season and not during the high season.
Yeah, I mean, yes, always, right? And of course, a lot of them happen in the shoulder seasons, right? Or what used to be shoulder seasons, guys, September, even early October is not shoulder season in most places anymore. It used to be. So yes, of course, off-season trips just continue to foster this idea of slow and immersive travel when possible. And then there's another very important thing, signature retreat creation, small group trip, however you want to call it, for new advisors, new trip leaders that we have not worked with. We do charge a symbolic fee that then it's refunded as soon as we get registrations. And that is simply because, as you guys know, and you charge a design fee to your clients, we have a small team. We pour our heart and soul into every itinerary we design. So we just want to have, a commitment from the retreat leader. Should we plan the itinerary, it doesn't happen that year and we move it, that fee, of course, is not lost. And again, it's not a fee. It's almost like take it as like a commitment deposit, right? That then we give back. Of course, if we've been working with you, we know who you are. That fee is waived. Yeah. Okay, so some of the questions that always come up that I thought would be helpful to share with you. Again, some of those we've already touched on. What happens if the minimum numbers of participants is not reached? We always aim to operate every trip as planned. Again, probably bad business. We've never canceled a trip. And when we're only a few spots short, of course, we'll explore options, right? We can adjust commissions. We encourage, as much as we would love to give you the best room, and I think that's actually another question, the best room in the space, we obviously usually prioritize client. So if the travel advisor, the retreat leader, and of course one of our team has to stay off site to save a little bit, that's also something that we can do. But it's very rare that we cancel a trip. So there are things that can be adjusted. If a participant cancels their deposit refundable, yes. If a participant cancels his deposit refundable, okay. I don't know why. I think I wrote that backwards. If we cancel the trip, which again doesn't happen, of course, everything that's paid is fully refundable, right? I think those were backwards. Somehow those got swapped. If the trip must be canceled, the deposit's refunded. Yes, if we cancel the trip, all deposits paid will be fully refunded. If a participant cancels, usually the deposit is not refundable, as with all of our trips, but of course it can be applied as a credit towards a future experience. It can be given to a friend or family member. The credit doesn't expire. We're not like you have to use it within 12 months. And now, provided, of course, that the cancellation is not last minute. Again, the few people that during the years we've had cancel, usually we've been able to fill that room. But if they cancel, a week before, and obviously you're stuck with paying that room, hopefully they would understand that that deposit would not be refundable. But typically we do, 50%. And of course, this is flexible since I know a lot of your clients are used to 30%. So we can talk about that obviously upon registration. And then the final balance isn't due until 60 days before the trip. And typically, just like for all other trips, even if they've paid the full balance and they cancel a month before, again, we sell the room, everything becomes a credit or part of it can be refunded. Otherwise, it all depends on each cancellation policy of each of our partner. How is the advisor or the retreat leader compensated? It's your agreed upon commission, right? We don't like to do fees because the commission is strictly tied to revenue. So just as always, that's paid at the end of the trip. There have been occasions where maybe we paid part of it earlier to help with expenses that were not part of the trip. We try to include flights whenever possible, but it all depends on the goal of the budget goal, right? That we want to, the budget goal for the client that we want to sell the trip. If we can get your flight, great. But sometimes that's just on a case by case basis. Of course, on top of the commission, you also, all of your in-destination travel expenses are covered, with flight being the exceptions. Whenever possible, we like to include it. When is the decision deadline to move forward with the trip? It all depends on the accommodation. Each hotel has its own deposit and cancellation policy. Now, with those retreats, we use partners that we've been working with year after year. So even when we cancel, some rooms after their cancellation policy, usually we can use that as a credit for them. Of course, we don't want to make it, a history and kind of do that multiple times, but it can usually be pretty flexible. But we're always going to give you a date by when we say, okay, we need to decide how many rooms to release, because now they will turn on this day, they will turn to non-refundable. So who collects traveler payments? Again, we touched on this briefly earlier. We typically handle all traveler payments, just like we're used to doing as a DMC, through our secure registration page, which again, it can be a link that you can put directly on your website as well. Or if you prefer to manage your own registration, it's just like a client trip. You tell us when to issue a deposit invoice for somebody who has registered on your side. Can we have 3 comp leaders, meaning 2 of you, maybe you have an assistant and 1 of us? Again, I think that some of those have been swapped. I don't know what happened here, but The point with having more people comped is the budget will get higher and higher, right? The cost, the final cost to the client will be higher. So just something to keep in mind. Usually for groups 8 to 10, we find that 2 facilitators are plenty. In the rare occasion when we do some bigger groups, of course, 3 may be indicated. What if the travelers book directly with LBR in the future? This is something that obviously we share, and we get asked this also when we work on normal trips. I mean, guys, you are our client, right? So, we work in full transparency. Your relationship with your clients is respected and protected. This has never happened to us. And if it ever were to happen, thankfully, we have a pretty robust CRM that will allow us to see, who that client, quote unquote, belong to, and we will be able to quickly redirect them right back to you. So that's not something people ask. It's not something that's ever happened. It's not something that you should worry about with us. Okay, will facilitators stay in the same hotels as guests? Again, touch on it briefly.
I mean,
Yes,
just
when
in the car. I
possible.
can sleep in the car in
Yes.
case.
I have slept in a lodge of a church, it all depends, right? Of course, we'd love to give you, a really nice room, but we typically, depending on if we filled it, the budget, if not, we may decide to stay in a more affordable accommodation so that we can really make the trip viable for all. Can we stay at more than 2 hotels? Again, in our experience, if you're doing a trip that is 1 week to 10 days, usually 2 home bases within the same region, occasionally across 2 regions, is the best, because this is not the type of trip where you want your clients to be packing and unpacking all the time. So again, we're flexible, but we're not going to do the grand tour of Italy in this type of trip. And of course, always happy to, revisit the purpose and find a journey that truly fits with your vision. How are we doing on time? Good. Can we create a multi-region itinerary? Again, same answer, right? For the same reason, we typically recommend focusing on one region, because when people tell me that they're going to Puglia or Sicily or the Dolomites for 3-4 days, it breaks my heart, because you can
The
spend
only
3
thing we do in
weeks.
different way is we include Matera in Puglia.
Yeah,
It's
yes,
the only
of
thing
course,
we can
of course. Yeah, we've done that at the beginning of a trip, right? If you want your clients to stay a couple nights in Matera, great. That's in the region of Basilicata. Most people pair it with Puglia. But yeah, it's just, again, it goes back to the intention of the trip, and avoiding long travel days as well. There's so much richness in each of those regions that if you're doing a 1-week trip, we would really encourage to sticking with really going deep in that one region. Do you offer trips for first-time travelers seeking iconic destinations? We have gotten a couple questions. Hey, want to go in June, want to do 2 nights in Venice, 3 in Florence, and then going down to Rome.
The Amalfi Coast.
Yeah, the Amalfi Coast. The answer is no. Somewhere is gonna have to give, right? Like whether if maybe we do it completely off season, we won't do less again. And Madeira is aside, but we usually don't recommend less than 3 nights in each location. So if you absolutely have a group that they're first timers, they have some destinations on their bucket list, but they're also open to that pace, to the slower pace of travel. They're flexible going off season, and they want all of the authentic experiences, in between seeing the Colosseum and St. Mark's. Maybe we can talk about it. Just again, what is our purpose? What is the vision, right? Is this just a small group trip for, clients that may not even need facilitation? Because that's the other thing. If you're going in all those touristy destinations, everybody speaks English, right? And yes, there are very authentic things that we can do within those, but we also have a lot of on-the-ground partners and support and other local managers that could assist. So not saying no, but just something to discuss on in case you have that type of request. Do you offer early registration incentives or discounts? This is a tough one. Yes, early registration incentives for sure. We've also offered incentives that if you refer a friend, right, you get a little discount off of your rate. Of course, when we use discount in travel, it's a little bit tough, especially because our discounts are symbolic. They may be 250 to 300 euros a person, because we don't have the margin that Costco vacations have, where you can offer, sign up early and save $1,500, right? No, that cannot happen. So yes, at a very symbolic level, but it's just not how this type of program is priced. Okay, any other questions kind of more on those topics? I promise we're almost done. We'll get you out of here with plenty of time. But if you have any other questions that we haven't covered, feel free to speak or pop them on the Q&A.
Are there also?
I have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
I don't know why I'm not on the anyway, so my question is, I know you mentioned you have the style retreat and the yoga retreat. You gave those as some examples. Can you give me some other examples of some small group trips that you have planned, like some special themes, or just to give some inspiration for what types of trips are
What is coming
possible?
next? This is
Oh,
what
it's
is
coming next? Okay.
yes. But
No, but yes, I mean, we show, I think, 3 examples, but yes, absolutely. For example, okay, one of my favorite things in Sicily is the concept of wine and wellness. We have literally done yoga, not with yoga people, none of them were yoga people, in the cellar of the winery accommodation that we were staying at on Mount Etna. And so that's just, again, something to catch the clients. Okay, it's wine related, or we've done with sommelier, right? If you have maybe one of your friends is a sommelier, that they could even get a little kickback and invite your community of either sommelier or people that think they're interested in becoming a sommelier, and it can be wine
an
focused.
adventure in the Dolomites also,
Yep.
and hiking trips.
Yes, adventure in the Dolomites, absolutely. And you know what? Finding the right name for those trips, we haven't figured it out. And I think, Amy, you're much better at marketing than we are. So happy to brainstorm on the ideas. But yeah, I think coming up with the right name to give the right impression, it's really important because, for example, today I just spoke with the style therapist that is doing the fashion retreat through Milan and Tuscany. And she told me she had a client that was really interested in signing up, but she didn't just want to go shopping. And that's not at all the intention of the trip. I mean, we're going to Valdorcia to relax for 4 days and do more like awareness, body awareness, color thing workshops with her. Again, I'm not
Also the
speaking my language here. Bike experience. But so that was a very the thing that light up her bulb and said, okay, now how do we market this better? Yes, if you dig deep and read the description, you know it's not about shopping, right? But how do we market in a way, even in the title, that really conveys that this is for everyone? It's not just for people that want to, come out of Italy with a bunch of really nice clothes and looking good. So that's a really great question. We'll share a couple of more examples.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. So yeah, what are some of the benefits of advisor-led retreats or small group trips? The first one is you get to share your passion firsthand. I know how hard you all work. We're all sitting behind a screen all day long. And I know we move fast between FAMs and travel shows and all of that. This, you get to breathe and you get to relax. And again, because one of us is there, you don't have that pressure of what happens if, that guy's 5 minutes late? What happens if my US cell phone doesn't work? Whatever it may be, we have seen both retreat leaders and advisors completely be immersed and relax and be as an integral part of the experience as their clients. So really, you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So obviously that's huge. Brand building and credibility. I know a lot of advisors have been able to build a repeat clientele also because, with those small group trips, you also, they're great, first of all, to gather all the content, but then it also builds a lot of credibility because you're not just selling those destinations, you're actually taking people to them. And of course, with our support, we give you all that you need to get as familiar and as comfortable as possible with the places that we're going to and the experiences we're having. Operational ease, enough of that. I've said enough about that. A repeat client generation, again, this is a huge one. Like I was saying earlier, especially with solo travelers, you get a lot of people that then say, where are you taking me next? Where are we going? And that's why some people ask her, why are you doing a retreat in France? Why are you doing a retreat in the Azores? You're an Italy-based DMC. Yes, but then sometimes we have those people that love so much what we did for them here in Italy that they're like, hey, can you take us, we'll go wherever you take us next, or this has been on our radar. So very slowly, very mindful, we have expanded to offering a couple of more destinations with on-the-ground partners as well, of course. And then high quality revenue. It takes the same amount of work, right, to create a small group trip, minus all the marketing maybe. So maybe that's not quite accurate, but in terms of the revenue, yeah, some of those can equate to 3 to 7 trips, depending on what your average trip value is. So I'm sure there are more benefits, but those are some of the ones that came to mind.
So now it's time to me to talk again. So we have three different kind of trips. So the one where the advisor is the leader. So you bring the people, and like Karen said, you are part of the group. So you are here to lead the group. And like in this case, I was in this group in Puglia, and all the other things. So I was in touch with the transfer, with the partner, to make sure everyone was on time. And when there were some issue, I was there to propose any kind of solution. So in this case, the advisor can really connect with their own travelers. So this is one of the best. I mean, for this advisors, half of the group are coming back next year in Sicily, though. So I think that was perfect.
Yeah. And another quick thing that we didn't mention that I think it's important, and it's part of the reason also why we prefer the client pays us directly as a DMC, is that we always have, of course, we have our local drivers, but we always have an extra car, so that if we have maybe 2 activities in one day, and some of the clients are tired after lunch and want to go back, we always provide customization within the small group.
Yes.
So, there's usually somebody who's like, hey, I want to go there. Can you take me? So we're actually further customizing the experience thanks to that facilitator having a second vehicle. And in a few occasions, talking about, and Jonathan takes awesome pictures too, absolutely. And the other thing, in the rare occasions where either we don't have a huge budget, meaning that maybe your clients, you think they'll be comfortable with a smaller number, or we haven't filled out all the rooms, sometimes us having the ability of driving a van, which we can legally do because we're not an NHG picking up random people at the airport, we're legally allowed to drive our own clients, then that's huge, right?
And also, the facilitator is not only a facilitator, he knows the region where you are going. So he can easily find solution, give some indication. Really, I mean, it's not here only to help. It's really here to connect.
Yeah. And for those of you who are coming on our Sardinia fam and then on our Sicily fam, we have some of our local managers that are based in those destinations, and we're going to bring them in more and more because eventually, they will also be the future leaders of those trips, because obviously Jonathan and I have traveled extensively, but it's nothing better than actually being with somebody that lives there year round and just breathes the region and what they do.
And we can be everywhere at the same time.
We do that every year. We double book ourselves and we're like, okay, it's time to get another facility.
So, and this one is the other case. I really love this case because it's friends who they want to have a group tour, but only with
use the word tour.
It's a group tour, but for friends.
Yeah, but don't use the word tour. We don't use the word tour.
Okay.
Yes. If you have, sorry to interrupt, I'll give it back to you. But if you have a group, like I said, that's already formed, maybe they want your facilitation or maybe not. Obviously, this goes back more to a normal trip, except that we can also offer that facilitation, right? Like in this case, it was this group of 7.
7, yes.
ladies,
And the good thing for the group, it's like they don't need to be a leader in this group, and all the ladies can just enjoy the week. They don't need to think about the schedule, anything.
Ladies or gentlemen.
Oh, yeah, also. We were talking about this group, so
Yeah.
that's the reason why.
Yeah. So that's the other way to think about the service, right? Yes, you can go with them, but if you have a group of friends that they love to travel, but it starts to be that number where you really know they could use somebody, not just a local manager on WhatsApp, but somebody on the ground, we can absolutely offer that service. And you will still make, obviously the commission. And if you want to go as well, that's something that you can lead as well. Go facilitate.
And the last one, it's the retreat with the leader. So in this case, you bring the leader. You are not in the mostly on his group. I mean, it's the same from the advisor. The only thing the leader, he don't need to think about anything. He can be just practice being with the travelers, and we handle all the stuff.
And again, it goes back to, do you want 3 calm people, right? If you want to come because maybe the leader, your coach or your yoga teacher is a friend, yes, we can budget for that. And as long as we take it into account for the beginning, there's absolutely no reason why we couldn't have, 3 people. It's just all depends on that budget.
Yes.
Yes, we will record it.
We're gonna send you at the end of the webinar a link with the video.
Great. Do you want to share some of
Yeah,
our
sure. I mean, most of we love to organize this kind of retreat and small group trip to Sicily, Tuscany, Puglia, Sardinia, Dolomites, but also in France and Azores, because we know a couple of places very nice where they are very good to do this kind of retreats.
He spent 14 years in France, so
yes, so if you need help with friends, I can help you. That's not a problem.
Stop. Obviously, those are some of the destinations that we have done. We're always open to doing more. I know we've talked about Piemonte would be really fun. So there's obviously other regions that we are continuing to expand.
We are also here. If you have idea and we have time, we can start to do a R&D. I mean, we are very open to that.
Yeah, I would love to nothing more than to do, and thankfully this one with the Up Travel is satisfying that craving to do something that it's not in Rome. We can add extensions to Rome because everybody comes in and out of Rome, but it's that in Tuscia, like in the rest of the Latvian countryside, it's such a beautiful area that thankfully is still undiscovered if you've had a chance to visit Viterbo and Vetralla and Caprarola. Those are beautiful, beautiful undiscovered towns. Sutri, yes, Etrusca, like Etruria, right? So I would love if you wanted to do something like that. We're here. So
yes,
something around food festivals, Amy, like oh my goodness, we have
you have to go.
In our town, we're just 40 minutes from Rome. We have the biggest artichoke festival, I think probably in the world.
Yeah.
In April. So, we're very big on Sagre. So if you have foodies in your clientele and you want to plan a food festival, which again, a lot of them happen off the beaten path in the spring and, through the late fall, that's something we would absolutely love.
During the festival, you can have an amazing food tour with me. So that's
yes.
That sounds amazing. I love that.
So just talk about the accommodation being a destination, some of the style, right? Obviously, we have very different ones, but those are some of our favorites. Lighthouse at the edge of the world is literally the southernmost tip in Sardinia. We absolutely love it. They only have 5 + 4, 9 rooms. The main body of the lighthouse has 5, and then there's another 4 in the second annex building that you can't see because it's behind. This is what it truly looks like. And while it's not the Amalfi Coast in terms of views, to me, to be able to see this entire coastline, it literally does look like the Amalfi Coast, minus, the
and
town.
it's my opinion, but it's much better than the Amalfi Coast.
Yes, of course. But elegant, agriturismi, wine resorts. This one is in Val d'Orcia. If you worked with us for Tuscany, as much as we love Chianti, Siena, San Gimignano, our favorite part of Tuscany is the UNESCO Val d'Orcia. So that's another one of our favorite retreat places. Ancient Sheep Farm. This is the one in France. You say?
Almier.
No, but say the Gorge du Tarn. Okay.
Gorge du Tarn.
Okay, great. So this is amazing. Only has 7 rooms. And so the other thing to keep in mind that maybe I should have included in some of the FAQs is that some of those accommodations, right? It's very important from the beginning to understand whether you want the ability to split beds, because maybe you're marketing this to a group of friends. Because sometimes when you get those type of places that are very special, of course, that's not possible. So keeping in mind single occupancies versus double at the very beginning helps tremendously with accommodation choices.
And this is our trips and retreat for this year?
Yeah, except for, so those are the ones that we've been asked to co-market. Oh, great. My computer is gonna go to sleep. I asked and you said it was fine. These are the ones that we've been partnering with Advisor for the one in the Azores, a couple of retreat leaders, and then we have another few that you don't see in here because they've chosen to do it privately, just like the one that is gonna be leading in Sicily with one of our most trusted advisors again, and the one that I just talked about with Opportunity to Travel. So of course, you know, even if you don't see some on the website, you can ask us and we're happy to give you more details on other things we may be doing in the background.
I have a quick question. Am I able to ask?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you all so much for this information. It's wonderful. If I've already been planning a retreat in my head and sort of materials and everything, is it too little time to plan for end of September with you all? Is that too quick?
When are you wanting to go? Where are you wanting to go?
So my thought is Tuscany, and it's a release the rest guilt sort of theme aimed at, like, you know, women primarily who have a hard time slowing down, resting without feeling very guilty. But I was thinking the end of September, kids are in school, far enough in advance of the holidays. You know, I don't want to get too much into that for any, you know, moms that may want to come. So I'm just wondering if we're at about 8 months right now, if that is a good runway for planning something.
Yeah,
I know you said like a year, but I in my head, I kind of want to do this in the fall. So that's.
Of course. Yeah, and we actually have already still a couple that we're working on for late September, October. The answer is yes, there is plenty of time. The only thing to be mindful of course, in a place like Tuscany, where that season, just right after the wine harvest, is still fairly high season, is the accommodation, right? Are we able to secure, you know, a buyout of an accommodation? Hopefully so, depending on the group, and that's something that we can get on another call and discuss. Maybe having a service villa, there's a gazillion that we know of in Valdorcia. Maybe that could also be a good way of doing it if having the exclusivity of the place is a priority. So yeah, I think there's absolutely plenty of time. We just have to move quick on the accommodation depending on what we want.
And where did you say we find that form, the initial form to fill out to get the ball rolling?
Absolutely. So are you able to share really quick in the webinar?
Yes.
We'll share really quick on the chat here, and then we'll send you the recording with the direct link.
Okay,
So
great.
yes, please fill it out. I see lots of new names on here. I'd love to get to meet you with a video, because I don't know why it doesn't let you all have your video on, but yeah, we'll share that, and if we can get it on. Yeah, it's the design your retreat form. Yeah. Thank you. Great question, though. Yeah, get in touch. Let's get the ball rolling on something for late September.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you so much, guys. The next webinar that we're doing will be another Dolomites. Okay, great. The link was just shared here on the chat. But again, if you don't grab it, don't worry. We'll send in an email. Next webinar we're doing, it will likely be Jonathan and Carolina, our two big skiers. I'm not one of them, unfortunately. I'll go surfing all day. And it will be about, we've gotten asked hut to hut, hotel to hotel kind of skiing in the Dolomites trip. We have done a Dolomites webinar that was not specific on winter and skiing. So that's something that we want to share with you next time.